Hello, everybody, and welcome to another fantastic episode of DialogBOX. I am your host, Laughingboy LP. You know, I had notes and then they went away. Anyway, I'm your host. We are.
He's like, who am I?
Yeah, look, DialogBOX. It's the Chuji of YouTube and Twitch. That's a word I learned this week. We've got a very special episode. I crammed my house filled with 5 people, including myself. You know, I didn't think I could do it either, but here we are.
Wow, we brought our rooms with us too.
I mean, I didn't, but hey yo.
You don't.
You can pretend that I am actually here, but I will just stare. I'm speaking with my mouth closed.
It's quite honestly impressive. I'm just, how do you do it? Every time you amaze me with something new.
Hidden talents.
I just set my internet to 0 and here I am. I have no frames. Tonight I am joined by 4 extremely lovely and 1 picture guests. First off, we have content creator and streamer MasaeAnela. You can find her on youtube.com as well as twitch.tv. You're also doing some pretty awesome D&D stuff over at Brett's channel, aren't you?
Yeah, D&D is awesome, but yeah, I do the Twitch thing, I do the YouTube thing, the general nerd thing, and apparently I do ventriloquism now, so hey yo, learn something new about myself every day.
It's talent. Only creepy because it's just you. Like, you are your own dummy. We also have another Twitch streamer and YouTuber, Donnabellez. Hello.
Oh. Good afternoon. Yes, I'm on the Twitch and YouTube, so I have some older stuff on there, and I am planning on doing some more videos here pretty soon. So, yeah.
Awesome. We also have content creator, Nintendo brand ambassador. You can find her on youtube.com as well as TikTok. It's NintendoFanGirl. Hello.
Hello. Happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. I've only talked to you for about 2 seconds at PAX East
Accidentally.
last year. Accidentally.
I was wearing this shirt though, right?
Yeah, I was like, look at that. It's the shirt. Where did you get it? And then she made it, so I can't get my own.
Yeah, sorry.
That is a really nice shirt.
Oh, thank you. It's literally just like iron-on leaves that I stuck all over.
Really? I honestly thought it was official when I first saw it. It's so good.
Me too. Yeah. I absolutely thought so.
It's a style of shirt called a camping shirt. Who knew?
Oh.
Makes sense.
Game about camping. Got it.
It's off Amazon.
And finally, she's a staff writer on twinfinite.net, as well as co-host of the Nintendo Shack podcast over at Shack Life on Twitter. You can find her on twitch.tv as well. We've got ForestMinish here today.
Hi. Thanks so much for inviting me on the show.
Again, thanks for... I literally have never met you before. I just know you vicariously through Elias.
I was like, yeah, that's awesome.
You're going to have her on the show. This would be great. And so... despite what my twitch.tv, episode video says, we are not talking about Sony. I forgot to rename the podcast. We're going to talk about Amazon. We're going to talk about Animal Crossing. Amazon?
Nope.
Amazon.
Say, I'm on the wrong podcast.
Right.
Oh, shit. Is this Psych 102? Am I in the wrong room?
And probably be purchased from Amazon if you're still looking for a copy of the game.
You can find it on Amazon. This site is owned by Amazon. We are not going to talk about our, employers technically. So Animal Crossing, it's been out for over a year now, and a while ago, and why I wanted to do this episode was because I know a couple of people kind of do these milestone check-ins of how's the game now that it's been out for a while? What do you like? What do you don't like? And I kind of did that on Twitter as well. And I was kind of because I have a big problem with Animal Crossing, and that problem is that I stopped playing it And then about 6 months in, I'm like, I don't want to deal with the roaches, and I don't want to deal with people telling me how long it's been since they last saw me. So I'm
Much
out.
pressure.
Right.
Who else has, and I wanted to be like, who else has this problem?
This game for some extended period of time. Where are your priorities?
Well, it becomes fun later because I still have an Animal Crossing GameCube save file from like 20 years ago, and I would love to go back and see what the hell's going on in that town. I'm pretty sure I have the golden axe. I spent like an entire summer making that town perfect, and then I cheated by going back in time 2 weeks, and then came back, and then I got the axe. So.
Think of how much your villagers miss you.
Right.
I try not to because I need to sleep at night.
They're just there crying. It's like Toy Story, when you
Come
don't play
back
with the
to
toy.
us.
No, literally every night I just go to bed and it's that Jesse's song from Toy Story 2.
Aww.
And that's just every night. And then I wake up in a cold sweat. I miss my friends. But before we get into that particular type of conversation, there's always like a baseline to go through. And it's like, what's your history? I'm interviewing you before we even start the podcast, even though you technically got the job already. Not very good at hiring people. Or maybe I'm the best.
What if I said I never played Animal Crossing?
I call you a liar.
And I would believe you. And it's not just because I'm giving you the benefit of the doubt. It's just because, Masae is going to call you a liar.
I don't have videos of it on my YouTube or anything.
Well, then can you really say you've ever played it? In work life, email is king, but in video game life, I need at least one video. It can be of your friend playing it and you just watching it. I don't care. I need something. Physical evidence. Very important. But what is everyone's experience here with the series? And Donna, you can go ahead and start because, you could lie. You could tell us whatever you want.
I already tried lying. Masae called me out.
Didn't work.
Yep. I'll call that out. I've seen you.
Yeah, she's seen it. She has. So, I actually got into Animal Crossing kind of late. I'd heard about it from my viewers and stuff because I was just on Twitter like, what's a good game that I should play? And like every single time they'd be like, have you played Animal Crossing? And this was like 2012, 2013 when New Leaf had just come out. So I was like, I guess I better get on that. I mean, it seems pretty good. People are really into it. So I did get into it about like 2 years after it came out or something. Immediately hooked. That was the end of it. Just, yep, this is my life now. So, yeah.
Awesome. ForestMinish, how did you get caught up in all of this?
I am a little bit the same as Donna, where I got into it a little bit late as well. New Leaf was my first Animal Crossing game, and I probably got it about 3 or so years after it released. I was actually about to go study abroad in college. I went to Denmark, and I was looking for games to take with me on my 3DS because it's portable. So I brought that with me overseas, and it was really comforting for me because I was away from all of my family and friends. So just kind of that checking in with the villagers each day was so nice for me. In fact, I didn't even know at the time that the villagers would celebrate your birthday. So they celebrated my birthday. It was such a surprise to me, when I was so far away from everybody that I knew. And I love the game a lot. I played it for probably that whole year, which is not, I think, as long as most people probably played it. I played a little bit of Pocket Camp after that, thinking that there would be some kind of connectivity to New Horizons, and I fell off of that pretty quickly. So I played some New Leaf. Mostly New Horizons is where I really got into the series.
Masae, how about you?
I started, I started in ye olde days of, which one did I start with? Oh, you know what? I know what I started with. I started with the frickin' GameCube game. What the frick? The first one? The first one that
it's
released
just called
in North
Animal
America.
Crossing.
Yeah, and just like straight up Animal Crossing. I picked it up. I was like, hey, this looks fun. I played it for maybe an hour, and I was like, wow, this is stupid. You can't kill anything. That was me. I was that kid. So I was very not interested in Animal Crossing. Fast
Oh.
forward a bunch of years, I played Wild World because my boyfriend at the time was like, "Yo, look at this game. This game is really cute and fun." I was like, "That game's stupid. You can't kill anything in it." So I had that attitude for a really long time. But I played it a little bit. I just like tinkered around with it, and I actually got into the game when City Folk was, not when it came out, kind of a little bit later. I was like, you know what? I'm actually gonna sit down and give this game a go. And so City Folk was the first one that I really got into and invested my time in. And I was like, you know what? Maybe you don't have to kill things for a game to be good. I matured. I grew up a little bit. I calmed down. My energy levels are, scraping bottom now. I'm decrepit.
We're all getting older.
I know, right?
No.
I was
That was
getting
a
older
really
when
happy
I was
story.
18. But yeah, after that, I just stuck with it, and then I played New Leaf, and now I'm playing New Horizons kind of once in a while.
Once in a while. Sometimes you turn it on, you're like, hey, this game.
Yeah. That's my entire history with Animal Crossing.
And Nintendo Fangirl, how about you?
I am a super long time obsessive Animal Crossing fan, so I've been playing since GameCube. And I was actually a Nintendo brand ambassador when New Leaf came out, so that's one game that I managed to get early, and I had it a month before it came out in America, the localized version. So that was like the biggest thing I've done with Nintendo, in my mind at least. I love New Leaf. It's my favorite of all of the Animal Crossing games, but I've played them all and I enjoy them all.
Ridley, what about you?
Aww.
It's so cute.
He
That
is
was
the
very-
Animal Crossing.
He
Aw.
is.
How do I get to invite him on my island?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
When can we have can Ridley be on the podcast next time?
Right? Hook him up with some earfits.
Yeah, oh man, you gotta give him a little
Aw.
gamer headset. It'll be so
Yo,
cute.
that'd be so cute.
So cute. As for myself, I found out about the original Animal Crossing. Basically, all of my stories, like I've done 3 episodes. I've done a Pokemon episode, a Zelda episode, and now this. And pretty much every single episode starts the same way. I found out about it thanks to Nintendo Power, and I had just kind of gotten back into the magazine. Like my original subscription was like for like N64, and then I just stopped. And then I came back into it, and one of the first issues I got talked about Animal Crossing. And not only that, but I really enjoyed the commercials that were playing during the time.
Yes.
The real world ones.
Yeah, I know which
And
one.
and that sold me on the game. And one of the things I used to do too is because of Nintendo Power, one of the people that worked on the magazine just called their town Crud. And so I pretty much called my villages or areas Crud whenever I could. I think this is like the first time I didn't do that, and I don't even remember what I've called my island. It's been so long. But I got into Animal Crossing because of that. Like I went and got a copy of it at like GameStop or Software Etc. before they got bought, and that came with like the 59 memory card because you had to have it. It filled up the entire memory card, so they had to give you one for free with the game so that you could play the game. But I kind of fell off Nintendo for a while. There was just like this angsty older teenage side of me that like kind of was like, oh, Nintendo's for babies. It was around the same time I kind of fell off of Pokemon. And I bought a PSP, which still I don't regret. I have a ton of PSP games I can show you, but I won't. And eventually I got into the DS, but it was too late for me to really want to buy Wild World as well as City Folk, because with those games, if you don't kind of play it as soon as it comes out, you're not really doing like the water cooler moments. I think that's a big emphasis on why the game can be really fun, is that everyone else is playing it, and so you get to talk to people about it. And so I don't think I came back into the series until New Leaf. And with New Leaf, I wasn't thinking about getting it at first, and then I saw like, I think it was like looking at like Masae and Emil playing the game. And I was kind of like, all right, fine. Twist my arm, why don't you? And then I just started playing it.
Yeah, I specifically twisted your arm, specifically you. I was like, hey, play it.
Through Twitter. You didn't even know me at the time.
I did
So.
it anyway. Don't care. Specifically.
Job well done, Masae.
Look. Sometimes you scare me with your passive abilities. Talking without moving your mouth. Not moving a single muscle. Not blinking for the next 2 hours. And then reaching your arm out of my phone. What was it? My Droid X at the time. And just twisting my arm until I finally bought.
What did I tell you? I have many hidden talents.
And all of them frightened me.
Excellent.
And so I kind of got back into it because of New Leaf and then the drought. I played Amiibo Festival. I played Amiibo Festival. I did not play Pocket Camp.
What about Happy Home Designer?
Happy Home Designer actually could have been something I really could have gotten into because I do like the kind of build your own stuff. But that was also at the time when it's like, oh, most of your fun is going to be by buying all of these cards. And I didn't want to do that because I was already like knee deep in Smash Brothers Amiibo I never used.
Yeah.
But
love
I did
Happy
get...
Home.
Happy Home's great. And clearly they took a page from that and built up New Horizons. And so I started playing New Horizons because I had nothing better to do when I was stuck in my house for an entire year.
I liked the idea of Happy Home Designer, but I'm also hot garbage at decorating anything. So it took like the one function of Animal Crossing that I'm actually garbage at and turned it into a whole game. And I'm like, wow, all of my stuff looks like trash. Welp. But I tried my best. It was fun. But
It's self-perceived.
yeah. Yeah.
Look, it's fine. I'm sure if you showed it to everyone in this room, we would tell you how wrong you are.
Okay, but here's the thing. I would show you one, you'd say that, and then the next room would look exactly the same, and then you'd be like, oh, I see. And then the
Well,
next one
logically
might have, like,
speaking-
one thing that's different, and you'll be like, one-trick pony, okay.
No, if I gave a review on the first thing and you show it to me again, I would have to have the same review for it because it's the same as the last one, right?
Either that, or it would just take the first score and just lower it a little bit, be like, oh, so this is the only thing that you do?
Look, you would be very great at making Mega Man games.
Okay. You know what? Okay, there you go.
You know what? I'll
Yeah.
accept that. I'll accept
Just do
that
the
answer.
same thing. Don't change anything. Just do it again. Make him crouch this time. So Animal Crossing is kind of known to be a one game per console kind of franchise. But even with that, there were a lot of fans kind of begging for a new entry after New Leaf. Why do we feel like that is, like, given the circumstances? And you can all talk at once. There's no round table here.
Scream it out.
Yeah, grumble, grumble, grumble.
I think, well, are you referring to like the drought during Wii U? Like
Yes.
why were we waiting?
The big one.
Well, I do think that Animal Crossing kind of has shelf life's not the right term, but there is a cutoff where you can only play it for so long before. Now what? And so the time between New Leaf and New Horizons was long. I also kind of think that New Horizons was probably developed during the Wii U time and potentially could have been a Wii U game, but since the Switch ended up working out, they were ready to push it over there. I don't know.
It could work with the gamepad.
I
Well,
mean,
they
did have that app thing on the Wii U where it wasn't a game, but it was just like the tree, and you go in and you view the animals. So they had the models and they had the assets ready for like something that they were doing with it, probably. So like I would imagine that they might have had something in the pipeline, but obviously the Wii U didn't do super well. The general attitude of the Wii U was not very good for the majority of its lifespan. So I would not be surprised if like they just took that and funneled it into, whatever they were working on next, which
Yep.
was the Switch.
I think that's so true, especially because if you look at sales history for the series, it has done a lot better on handheld consoles than on home consoles.
Yep.
So I think especially if they knew that the Switch was in the works and they knew that this hybrid, console/handheld was coming, why would they bother to make a game for the Wii U when it's not doing that great and they could just put all their efforts into something that they think will sell more later anyway?
A great point. I agree with that. Definitely. Handhelds for Animal Crossing, for sure.
Yep, big agree.
Well, and I also think we had this really weird transition point where a lot of publishers or console makers couldn't figure out what was going on with the mobile market. And so to me, I'm kind of looking at this from a perspective of I think they wanted Pocket Camp to be a big thing, tentpole for their future mobile development. And honestly, I think it did them really well. I had a lot of friends that didn't really know what Animal Crossing was, but because you had it on a very accessible device, as one Blizzard employee said, we all have phones. Everyone was able to easily get into Pocket Camp and could see the world of Animal Crossing. And typically speaking, I don't think it started out too great. I remember some complaints. But after a while, I think people really started to enjoy Pocket Camp, and then that just allowed them to have visibility into a franchise that then, when it came out for a very popular system, people just kind of jumped at it. So yeah, to me, it's just interesting that there was no Wii U entry, but I would kind of agree with you, Sam, that it makes sense that they would probably have made some initial concept ideas on the Wii U, and then the Wii U just had to put out to pasture, and they just kind of put it over on the Switch as well.
So sad.
Look, the Wii U 2 is out. It's called the Switch. I have literally everything that I could have had except for Bayonetta 2.
Well, I think it's to our benefit.
Feels like a beta Switch almost, right?
Yeah,
Like
it does.
1.5.
Yeah, proof concept. You can play it while your dad is watching golf, apparently, but now I can do that with the Switch.
There you go.
Perfect. I can take it to the toilet. Speaking of toilets.
Great.
Okay, I only say that because in my notes.
Excellent segue.
Look, I'll get better at those one day. So according to my notes, what I have written down on this, I couldn't figure out what to call this section of my notes. And originally it just said something Animal Crossing. And then I remembered that the Cottonelle ads existed and Animal Crossing was used to sell Buttwipes. So here we are.
What?
Specifically Buttwipes.
Why is it just me that only knows about this?
I have not seen that.
I saw it for 4 months. It wouldn't stop.
Was it?
I saw it.
Was it during the
Thank you.
toilet paper shortage, or?
I think it was right after, which is kind of funny now that you mentioned it.
Didn't they make their own island and you could go and visit it? I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
That
like
might be
that.
true. But I also remember the Biden stuff and all that. And then Nintendo finally came out and said, you can't, please stop selling butt wipes using Animal Crossing. Please stop your political motivations using Animal Crossing. They had they came out with guidelines on how you could use Animal Crossing to sell your product or your thing, and they were like, please don't use it for political gain.
Oh my goodness.
Or butt wipes.
That's how you know. Look, that is the new pedestal to be on. That's how you know you've made it. When people use you as a platform. Look, Among Us did it.
Yeah. Okay,
That's
so
true.
I didn't see the butt wipes one, but literally on my Twitter timeline right now, Flo from Progressive tweeted about "Welcome to Savings Town." It looks really cartoony.
I saw
Yes.
that.
I did
Yeah.
see
That's the
that.
new one.
I actually didn't even realize that was an Animal Crossing nod. I scrolled by it, and then I was like, wait a second. And I scrolled back up to look at it. I was like, oh.
Wait a minute.
I think it was a
I
bit too
see.
subtle for people who don't know what Animal Crossing is. They might.
Yeah, you would
might not
never,
know.
if you didn't know, then you wouldn't notice. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're not even animals. They're just themselves.
They're just people. God.
What?
There's no point if they're just people. What were we all looking forward to most for New Horizons when it like first announced? We knew that an Animal Crossing game was coming, and I'm sure we all had expectations. Do we have anything specific for a new Animal Crossing game?
I think this
For
is a bad answer. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I think this is a bad answer, but I think it for me, I was really looking forward to the new soundtrack because I listen to Animal Crossing music like every single day.
Aw.
Like there's so many like great songs tracks from New Leaf, and there's the night version and the winter version and the rainy version, and so that's like the one thing I was like, give me 50 new songs, I'll be so happy. And I'm mostly happy with it. I still listen to the New Leaf soundtrack more than New Horizons, but
For me, one of the things that I wished I could do more of in New Leaf was the decorating outside. Of course, there were the public works projects. I'm gonna say if you're not a big decorator, maybe this wasn't on your wish list. But for
Well, I
me, I
mean,
just
they were
wish I
kinda
could do
nice,
more and more
but-
outside. Because there's not so much of a point to putting like a swimming pool in my house or anything like that, you know. So I had acquired all these items in New Leaf that didn't make sense to be in my home. So I really was hoping that New Horizons would have the outdoor decorating, so I was very glad that they did. And I wanted new villager types as well, like different animals, which we didn't end up getting, but that was on my wish list.
agreed.
I guess I didn't have very many like big expectations. Sorry about Ridley. He's getting excited because I've only played like the one and then Happy Home Designer. So Ridley, come here. But I don't know. I guess more variety in villagers and items, and we got a lot of items. The items are great, and like even when you restart the game and start a new file, you get like different colors and different like varieties of the items that are sold and found on your or on your island, which is really cool. And then like the online play, I had no idea what to expect at all.
Yeah.
But I love
And I think
it.
for me, that was one thing I was really hoping for was some kind of online play. One of the reasons why I just kind of keep getting knocked off of these games is because at a certain point it just becomes routine. And if I'm constantly playing the game by myself and I'm just buying all these things for myself, I'm like, I don't really see much of a point in doing this. So I wanted something to do where, like in New Leaf, you had a multiplayer little island that you would go to, but I would love to have people over on my island the same way that other games kind of did it, but just something that was more easy to use and something that, maybe now that I have a friends list, I could have people coming over and then I could not be alone all the time. But that's, that's a different problem. So that was kind of where I was at. Like multiplayer was that for me, and then another thing was because there were so many people that were doing the really intricate designs that they were then putting on the ground, creating paths and stuff. That was something where I was kind of like, I hope they do that so that people don't have to go through this whole rigmarole to just put down like dirt.
Yeah.
And I think 1.5 of those things came true. Let's say, how about you?
Yeah, I mean, I was excited about the decorating outside a bit, but it was definitely one of those things where I was excited about the idea of it. Once again, here I am, and then I just ended up not doing it. Just one of those things where it's nice to have the freedom to drop all my trash on the ground and be like, well, this is here now, and then forget about it.
I've been to your island last
My
year.
trash dump, isn't it beautiful? Wow.
But yeah, I was excited for that, but I think what I was most kind of intrigued by was when they announced that it was like you're building up an island from scratch, and I was like, there's crafting. Oh, it's almost like a survival, like not really survival because you can't die in Animal Crossing, but it's like you have to gather up your materials, and start from scratch. That really intrigued me, and I was very, very excited about that. And I think that might have been when I enjoyed the game the most, was when I didn't have anything and I was having to figure it out and start plopping down buildings and stuff. I didn't really have any expectations or like particular hopes, but I do feel as though one of the things that I was more or less kind of hoping for was a bit more interactivity with the animals themselves. Because I remember for a little bit, because Pocket Camp was so big right before the game came out, I was kind of like side-eyeing that. I was like, what if you can level up your animals? What if you can like visually level up your friendship and then they change what they say depending on like blah 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 blah, blah depending on what number they're at, you know? And I was just like, I didn't really think that they'd go that route because I feel like that almost isn't Animal Crossing style. But the fact that Pocket Camp did that, I was like, that would be an interesting new spin on like how you interact with your animals and the way that it might give it a bit more of a tangible incentive to talk to them every day. I think that's more what I was hoping for, was like some tangible incentive to go around and make your rounds and talk to your like 10 animals every single day, which
If miles aren't doing it for you.
It's funny though, because they're actually in the back end of the game. That's kind of how it's working in terms of you're leveling it up, but there is no visual. There's no way for you to know how much
exactly
become friends with somebody or whether they're ready to give you their picture or whatever. But I would really like
real
to know
life.
that.
Yeah, but I just kind of wish that the dialogue would change more drastically depending on like what you did for them. And also on the back end of the game, they have a tendency to talk to you about things that you've done around the island first before they tell you about their opinions about anything, giving you favors, blah blah blah. They're just like, hey, so and so has visited the island, aren't they neat? Or / hey, they're a bell pincher, you know?
Right.
And it's just like, I don't have the patience to sit there and mash A for 3 entire dialogue boxes for every single animal, and I just ended up getting lazy about it eventually.
Like, we need more juicy gossip.
Yeah. They love the juicy gossip, but that's not what I want to hear.
Have you been to Masae's Island? It's trash.
Hey, you shut up.
It's like...
I also feel like in this game compared
cat,
to New Leaf, I don't know what it was like in earlier games, but the different personality villagers, like if there's a jock villager, for the most part, all of the jock villagers kind of have all the same dialogue. Like, I really don't want more than one jock on my island because they're all talking about working out and how buff they are. And I wish that they were a little bit more varied among their own personality types as well. I don't need 2 pop stars, for the peppy types and things like that.
Understandable.
Which then becomes a problem because you'll see people get into fights on your island, and then you're like, you are a troublemaker.
Like, this is awkward. You're just listening to him talk like,
Well, my favorite one is like they'll get upset, they'll be angry. You talk to them about how they're angry, and then immediately it's like, oh, this other villager is really getting on my nerves. They said that they don't like to eat cereal with milk. And I said, that's dumb. And then you're just kind of like, okay, are you gonna pay for this, light post that I put up yesterday? And then they'll be and then they'll be fine like the second time you talk to them, and they're gonna tell you about the same villager and how great they are, and it's just kind of like, you're actually a psycho. Like, you're actually a psycho.
Yep.
Maybe
you
they're
know something that I miss about old school Animal Crossing?
Mm-hmm.
The dialogue. Because I remember old school Animal Crossing was nasty.
They were mean. I miss it.
They are rude.
They're really freaking rude, but also it's kind of charming almost. I don't know what that says about me, but I thought that was really charming.
No, I like it. I wish that they were like that in New Horizons too. I think that would be more believable, when a villager first moves in.
Not far in that direction, but like at least if you hit someone with a net like a billion times, maybe they're not like, "Hello, yes, I'm sorry for getting in your way."
I didn't realize you were trying to catch bugs. I'm not. Be angry.
I just wish that it was a little bit more. There was a little bit more repercussions if you were being, a jerk to them.
Yeah.
If there were
It's
dialogue
sad.
options to be a jerk if you wanted to play like that. It feels a little bit sterile now. Is
Mhm.
kind of the
Do I
point
want to
I'm
be
getting at.
Renegade? Do I want to be Paragon?
I think a problem with the dialogue also, or this isn't just the dialogue, but your villager interactions is they're constantly offering items or to buy items off of you, and the game doesn't take into account what you have in your catalog or don't have in your catalog. I wish that there was some kind of prioritization for things that you've seen or haven't seen so that there's actually incentive for these villagers that are like coming up to you 4 times a day to buy shirts off of them that you really don't
You
want to
might
add to
have
your
some of them
inventory.
already.
Well, yeah, and I was just seeing Sarah Bear in the chat, which you can do too if you catch the stream live. Like, here's a recipe that you've gotten 5 times before.
Right.
It's like,
Yeah, right. Thanks.
and they're just kind of like, maybe you can find somebody else who has it, and it's just like a wooden table, and you're
No,
just
I
like,
can't
does anybody
actually.
not have a wooden table? Oh no, because everyone maxed the game out in a week and a half. Okay, great. What do I do?
Yeah.
I remember that used to be a problem where you would find somebody who, like, the game came out March, I think. Yeah, right?
Mhm.
Yeah,
I'm not-
March 20th, I believe.
And like 3 months later, you would find one person that's just kind of like, "Yeah, I'm thinking about getting into Animal Crossing. I just bought it today." And then everyone is just kind of like bombarding them, being like, "Hey, buddy, you want to come like visit my island? I got some stuff you could use." Like, they're just sitting here in the back. I don't need them, but I have 5 of them.
Yeah.
That's how it was. I had like a
I
whole
need you to
garden
take
of like
Recipes.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I had my entire beach was filled with DIYs, and I had a little sign that said free DIYs, and nobody ever wanted them. So I eventually gave up and literally threw them all into the trash can in the game because they were everywhere.
Yeah.
Look, what you really should do is just gift wrap them and then just be like free amazing things, and then they take it home and it's just a free cake, and then
Yeah.
they just throw it out.
You're
But then
stuck
you're
with
Thank
it.
you for doing my chores.
You're just like the villagers in your island giving you all their own.
Uh-huh. Look, it's a vicious cycle.
There's regifting going on like crazy. You're just like,
I don't think Nintendo expected this game to be played within and finished before the first season was even over. And so they were just kind of like, yeah, they'll probably not be playing more than 8 hours every day, right? Like, that'd be crazy.
boy, timing.
Well,
Speaking of which, a good segue, I might say. Did anyone expect New Horizons to become as popular as it has been? Do you think that the elephant in the room had anything to do with this, or do you think that there were other factors? Like, do you think Pocket Camp may have had a hand in this as well?
I see a lot of people do suggest that the pandemic played a big role, and I think it definitely has. I think that is a big part of it, but I don't think it's the only factor, because there were lots of other games that came out, the first month, 2-3 months of that, and they didn't have that explosion of popularity like Animal Crossing did. And I think a lot of people think of Animal Crossing as a very niche franchise, and I guess to an extent it was, but like I think that's kind of hard to say that it has been recently, because it sold 13 million copies on the 3DS. Wild World sold at least 10 million. I wouldn't call those niche if you've had 10 million sellers before this. So I think it was kind of bound to do this well. Of course, 30 million is so much more than 10 million. So yeah, you do have to wonder if that was part of it, what Pocket Camp had to play into it. Also, Switch's popularity. I think there's more people, like casual gamers now, than there have been before, who are maybe trying to broaden new horizons and try out new games. So I think it was multiple factors.
I think I agree. I think it was the perfect storm. I think everything came together into a culmination of things that just made it work for when it came out. But I do think that the pandemic had a very strong influence on it. If only because it's a very social game, and it was right at that time, almost to like almost to the day in which people were getting stir crazy and being like,
Yeah.
I miss my friends, I miss going out, I miss all of these things. And what does not Pocket Camp, but what does Animal Crossing give you in general? It's just like it gives you like a little virtual life that you can go and see your friends, and it's a very social aspect that everyone was missing at the time. Everything was locking down, everyone was stuck indoors, everyone was going stir crazy. So I think that pushed a lot of people who would not have been interested otherwise to actually be like, yo, I miss my friends, I'm not interested in this game, but I will play it so that I can hang out with X, Y, and Z person who is into it. And I think that probably pushed it a lot further than it probably would have otherwise. Because if you think about it, yeah, there were other games that came out around that time, I agree, but there's very few that has the social aspect that Animal Crossing has. And the
There
other
were
one that
people
comes
having like
to mind,
graduations and stuff, and
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
Yeah.
I went to a graduation in Animal Crossing.
Oh, that's right. That's
Where
right.
Carlos
Yeah.
and Sap,
But
maybe.
yeah, that's the one. That's the one. But the other game that comes to mind, and it's along the same lines, is Among Us. It's a different style
Mhm.
of game, but also that took the frick off right at the
Mhm.
start
Yeah.
of the pandemic. And it's like, what's they're two completely different kinds of games, but what they have in common is that they brought people together and they brought friends together, gave everyone an activity to be like, hey, let's hang out. And I think right around that time, everyone was pining for that. And
Mhm.
again, it's just like bringing in a much bigger audience, especially since right before that, Pocket Camp introduced a bunch of people who didn't know what Animal Crossing was to Animal Crossing. And then
Yes.
they're like, hey, I have this Switch. I don't know what to play on it. What do I play? Hey, this looks like Pocket Camp. Wow. All right, let's try it. And I mean, I'm very confident that it had a very large part in the resounding success.
Yeah. If I can add one more thing to the perfect storm, I think Nintendo did a lot more and a lot better marketing around
Oh yeah,
New Horizons than any other Animal Crossing game.
absolutely.
So
Yeah.
I think that
I know
helped a
that.
lot.
Like
I
I had
wouldn't doubt if
mine.
they like looked at that and they were like, "Yo, this is didn't intend this, but hey, this is not terrible timing for this kind of game."
They're just going back to their board of directors being like, please don't expect this in the next Animal Crossing game. Like, we're going to go back to normal numbers, maybe. Donnie, you were going to say something as well?
Oh, yeah, I was gonna say, like, I had my game pre-ordered the summer before. So I know a lot of people like me were anticipating it for years, and it just came out. Like, the week that it came out, I'd lost my job. I adopted Ridley, and I
Aw.
literally have a picture of him next to, like, the promotional poster and,
Aw.
like, me picking up the game. And so it all, like, happened at once, and, like, I had a long-distance boyfriend, and we went on dates and stuff in Animal Crossing, and, like, gathered with friends and stuff and had evenings where we just like were stupid together online
Yeah.
on our islands. And yeah, it was definitely a big deal that people were talking about it a lot, and on Twitter, like, you couldn't get away from it for the first month or so. It's just like,
Yep.
if you're not playing the game, who are
Mhm.
you? Like,
Yep.
Yep.
I think after a certain point, it gets that fear of missing out. It reaches
Uh-huh.
that point where you see so many people talking about it. You're like, oh my gosh, like I am the first person to say Animal Crossing isn't for everybody. But if you see that many people talking about it and hyping it up and having fun and screenshots and oh my God, the turnip
Mhm.
market, things like
You want
that,
in on it.
you're gonna want to try it. Yeah. And I think even though there were a lot of people that bought it just to see what it is, why are so many people into this?
For sure, for sure.
Yeah. It really is just kind of a perfect, as we've been saying, a perfect storm of just everyone's kind of stuck inside. The install base of the Switch was already huge, so it was not a huge investment. I do know that some people were going and buying and trying to look for Switches, like risking illness in order to find something to do while they were stuck inside. And yeah, the fact that people could see it as an escape, a literal escape from being stuck at home by being able to see friends in some way.
Yep.
And as you said as well, Masae, with Among Us, like Among Us is a very social experience, and that game's been around for 2 years,
Yep.
and only now did it really find a footing, because thanks to a lot of like Twitch streamers just showing off the game, showing off how much fun people are having with it, or how much anxiety it induces in me. And yeah, both of those experiences were a way to bring people together in ways that they couldn't. Going back to my notes.
If there's one thing that I can say, is that, you know, like you were saying, Laughingboy, just a little bit ago, I am very interested to see what the numbers for the next Animal Crossing game are going to be.
Yeah.
I'm so interested to see, like, if it's going to stay at the point that it's at, which I don't really think it probably would. But like, it would be very hard to hit those kinds of numbers again, depending on, but like, I wonder how that might have influenced what direction it'll go in.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. It all really kind of depends. Are they going to try and catch lightning in a bottle twice and try to just release another Animal Crossing for the Switch? Are they going to do their one and done where they just wait for the next console? There are too many rumors for me to make a reasonable suggestion. So, did New Horizons live up to your expectations when you started playing it? We've kind of already listed some of our like complaints, but I'm sure this is a perfect time to kind of lean more into it. Did the game leave you feeling disappointed in some ways?
I miss Brewster and Captain.
Yeah.
They were so cute.
I know.
Do you like my coffee? I think for me, the thing that really disappointed me was the holiday events, and not just the fact that they're just all the same. It's just kind of a character comes in, you do that thing for that character every day, and you have to do it every day in order to get all the things that you want. And I was worried that, and this all happened with the Easter celebration, and how much everyone hated that one. And I was worried that everyone was trying to get everything so quickly, and then next year it was just going to be the same furniture, the same DIYs, and that was going to be a huge waste, in my opinion. Like, you're just kind of going in and doing everything when you can just wait until next year. It's fine. Like, just give it a break. And I guess that's not necessarily the case, but the tasks that you still have to do are pretty much just the same as the last holiday. So in my opinion, it's hard to make them special in that way if they're all just the same as the last holiday. I think the online works, but it's not user friendly. I think they wanted it to be, but there's too many menus. And I think that's been the main complaint everyone has had, where there's too many menus, and in certain cases you mess up at some point and you have to restart because your mind just stopped, your eyes glazed, and you just kept tapping A, and then you accidentally hit the visit near communicate. Yeah, that.
Right.
10 times in a row.
I didn't want to go to Harvey's Island.
Nobody wants to go to Harvey's Island. I really am scared of Harvey's Island.
A photographer's cabin is not my favorite place to go in the world.
No, when a guy who looks like he's homeless comes up to me and propositions to come to his cabin late at night in order to take pictures, I'm not really interested. So those were kind of like, I think the game does what it needs to do. And I think at first I was like really excited, and I was really looking forward to the customization of the actual island part, which I know a lot of people like. I had a friend that would just spend hours not playing the game because he was just constantly resetting till he got the island or the area that he wanted, the forest that he wanted. And now I don't have to care about that. So you take the good, you take the bad, you take them both, and then you have my opening statement.
I think there were a lot of things that I thought I was going to really like about the game that now that it's been a year, I am kind of wishing were a little bit different. Like, I was really thrilled that villagers wouldn't move away unless you wanted them to. I remember in New Leaf, I would just boot open the game and my favorite villager would just be gone. So I was pretty elated to find out that they wouldn't move away unless I gave them the permission to. But now things feel so much more permanent in this game, if you want them to be, than they ever did in previous Animal Crossings, for good or for bad. There's not really any shop upgrades to work with at this point. It's just very, kind of you're in more of a cycle in this game, which to me at first was great, and I really liked it. I'm not so sure that's good for the long term.
Yeah.
You mentioned like shop upgrades. Yeah, I feel like this game really needed more upgrades and more goals, because once you got to that point where it's like roll credits, yeah, that's it.
Yeah. And it felt
that
early.
really is it.
Yeah.
It felt early in this game.
It definitely felt super early, because in New Leaf you were still unlocking things like pretty far in, and you had to work pretty hard to see everything and get everything. And I really do miss having an area where it's just like you have shops to go to and you have different things to go and explore it. I feel like it would have been really fun with the mechanics that this game gives you if you could have plop down all of these buildings wherever you wanted to, right? Or just like move them around, shuffle them around, and decorate your island with these extra features, like give all of these Animal Crossing characters their stores back. But no, they just come into the main plaza area and they're like, hey, do you want to buy a bush? How about some shoes? Depending on the day. And it's like, I don't know. I really miss the feeling of like having a town. I miss having the feeling of having a town that you can go and visit anyone that you want, / even there's a freaking plane. They could have gone the city folk route and then just like hop in the plane and go to, the mainland or something. And then you go in and it's like a little city and you get to see Gracie. Yo, Gracie isn't in this game.
Poor Gracie.
I know, right?
Or Harriet.
Oh yeah. There's so many characters that aren't being used, and it's like I feel like in that way it just does not have the personality or the charm that New Leaf did, and I desperately miss that. And I feel like that definitely had a large impact in the longevity of like playing the game and like exploring it, because it definitely feels like it focused on different things, which is fine, but it did it at the expense of like the character development and the building development and just having new goals. It's much more open-ended and not as linear, I suppose, but also having a little bit of a linear goalpost is a nice thing to shoot for, I feel like, and this game is definitely lacking in that.
I think especially for players who have a hard time creating their own goals and things to do.
Hey, yo, that's me.
True.
Yeah. Same. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a free form.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, like, I can't even say that these are true complaints, because I still play the game like at least weekly right now, and I think I'm at like 450 hours. So like at the end of the day, when I look back on New Horizons, it's a game that I enjoyed very much. But I think a couple things that I would have done differently if I was Daddy Nintendo, that I would have. I think the timed updates have been an issue that I didn't think would be an issue when the game launched. For example, Leaf not being introduced when the game was new, or Red and the art section of the museum not being available from the beginning. And I actually think that we're probably in for a big update within the next year, maybe even announced at E3. I think we're going to get a 2.0 update at some point, and I think we're going to get shop upgrades and things like that. But I think those kind of things would have been more beneficial at game launch. potentially even if we had to wait for the game to launch 6 months later.
Mhm.
It is what it is at this point. Like, I'll take the update now if I have to, but I think those kinds of things would have been better off built into the base game.
Mhm.
Well, I guess that kind of offers up another question. Do we feel like that game, like Animal Crossing New Horizons, do we feel like that was a complete $60 game when it was released? Because it seems like, due to the fact that some DLC came out pretty quickly, but it also seems like Nintendo is mostly using DLC as a way to control seasonal updates as
Right.
well.
I think it is because those all of those were free. It's not like we had to pay extra for them. It's just it felt like it was stuff that we would have gotten in any other Animal Crossing game anyway. It just was more timed.
Yeah.
Like I know they added during the summer, they added things like the fireworks show in August. That's something that I kind of expected that would be in the game anyway by that point because there have been fireworks show in August in other Animal Crossing games. So it's part of what we like. It's still part of the game. Like as long as you're not time traveling, you were gonna get to that point anyway and experience that anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think even thinking about like the wedding season update isn't really necessarily something that they didn't have ready for go live. It's just that we didn't want you doing this before we were, seasonally ready to allow you to do it, perhaps.
And I'm fine with that. I thought personally, like I know I've seen many people who are not fine with this, but I'm fine with timed seasonal event updates. For me, it's the non-seasonal things that I'm less fine with, like the paintings in the museum, which like by the time they came out, it became now an annoyance because I've been in Animal Crossing this many weeks. I could have seen red how many times, but
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. That is annoying.
My museum could have been perfect. Now that a year has passed, what is something that you think New Horizons does really well, and what are things that you think need improvement?
I want another shop upgrade.
Yeah.
That's the big thing for me.
Yeah, I think that's a really big one. Something that I really liked about it that it does well. I know a lot of people don't like the crafting part of it. I do like it. I think that it offers two ways to get items in the game through the shops, which we already knew. That's something that has been a staple of the series, but then also creating it yourself. So you can kind of do a little bit more each day than you would have normally been able to do before. I kind of found myself playing for longer periods of time each day than I did in New Leaf, whereas I just kind of had my daily routine in New Leaf. I would go check all the shops, talk to all my villagers. And it was kind of the end of it after a while. Whereas in New Horizons, I could do all of that again, but then I could also work on collecting materials and crafting things and just kind of taking that a little step further. I really liked kind of added playtime for me specifically. But yeah, the shop upgrades, the dialogue, like we said, got stale a lot in this game. Others I think are some of the improvements that I wish.
Brewster.
Also some quality of life. Yeah, Brewster, all those special characters that we missed. I think we touched on a lot of it.
I also really like the crafting. I'm also of that opinion that the crafting extended the value of my time spent to me because I like that aspect of games. I like crafting in games. I like building things in the way of like getting my tools together, like if I want a furniture item, then I can build it up. But the thing that kind of bothered me was the user interface for it. It was kind of annoying to go through and having that animation, every time you want to make one freaking bait.
Yeah, fish bait.
Yeah.
Yep.
You
bait
should have been able to make more than one thing for everything.
You
for
really
the
should have.
bait,
And
for-
honestly, they could have done without that animation, that little like slamming things together animation, and it would have been fine. It was charming the first few times, but after you've seen it like a billion times, and you're just like, all right, time to mash A,
Right.
My A button is crying.
Yeah,
It could have,
exactly.
could have been skippable with A instead of sped up. The
Can I
other,
hold the button down.
Yeah.
Like, I'm just thinking about
the
my
other
poor
quality of life
controller.
thing with crafting is I wish that it was allowing you to pull from your closet inventory, your house
Yeah.
inventory,
Yeah.
because it's just a pain to make sure you're holding whatever needs to be held for whatever you're crafting when you know you have stacks of it.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, you know what I really wanted? A closet. A
Yeah,
clothes
but, like-
specific closet.
Not a
Separate
locker.
from my storage space, because my storage space is just clothes, period. I loved the clothes in New Horizons, and I was really getting into it. I was doing like this whole thing where I was
Mhm.
taking a screenshot every day and posting it to Twitter, and like
Oh, yeah.
every day was a
remember
different
that.
outfit, because
Mhm.
when I played New Leaf and basically every single Animal Crossing before that, I was like, yo, I'm gonna put on this one outfit and I'm never changing it. You know, my Animal Crossing character is a little bit gross like that. She didn't change clothes for like 10 years. But yeah, I got really into it in New Horizons, and the thing that stopped it was that I ran out of storage space.
Oh,
And it's
no.
like, well, that sucks.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think separating the two would be great, especially since they do have certain and what I would kind of think are weird limitations for how many things go into a stack. I don't know why certain things can be 99 of a piece of paper, but then logs are,
Yeah.
10.
Yeah.
And that's not an exact number, but you get the picture. I feel like there were certain things about the online functionality that just kind of seemed not complete. And I don't say that they didn't complete it. It's just that once you visited your friend's island, you're kind of like, cool.
Yeah.
Now what? Like,
No, we
you
talked
wanna
about
go?
that. Like, if we
Yeah.
had like the island, like in New Leaf, those mini games. I wish we
Yeah.
had more of that. It doesn't, not necessarily that island or not necessarily those mini games, but some kind of a interactivity that's different from what we have just visiting each other would
Yeah.
have gone far, I think.
Especially-
Besides, like the timer, like for
Yeah.
fishing, the fishing timer. But you kind of have to make your own fun.
Make your own game.
Especially when it's such a process to get a group together, you have
Mhm.
to like have them go through what you were talking about with the airport dialogue, and then sit through
The
that
waiting
loading
room.
screen for a minute, and then they get here, and then somebody else is loading in, and you do that 7 more times,
And
and
somebody's
everyone's
connection
there, and then
breaks.
somebody disconnects, and everybody gets kicked off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, was it you, Masay? I think there was one time you were telling me about somebody who, like, had good turnip prices. And I can't fathom being the guy who has really good turnip prices.
I
and
don't
then
tell people.
somebody
It's a
leaks
secret.
it out to everyone else, and you're just dead for like 5 hours.
It legitimately, I timed it. It legitimately took me 2 hours to get into that town and buy turnips and get out.
Yeah. It's crazy. I some of that can be really debilitating. But again, I don't think Nintendo was like, oh yeah, no, everyone's just gonna like have this thing called Discord. I don't think they know what Discord is because they keep peddling Nintendo Switch Online as an app. But like, I don't think they anticipated somebody being like, okay, I'm gonna be smart about this. I'm gonna send my code to about 50,000 people, and we're gonna see what happens. So yeah, I definitely think there's certain things about the online that need to be better, but I really think it's just the UI. Like we've kind of all talked about it. For me, the UI can be very monotonous and boring if you're just constantly doing the same thing over and over. And especially if you just aren't really paying attention, you're just trying to fly through the things so you can go visit your friend's island and sell turnips, and you accidentally hit the wrong things. And I think that was the one that made the least amount of sense for me was you were expecting, I can't remember what the process was, but it was always the top option. And then I think on the final confirmation, they swap it. And so in the final yes or no, they swap the confirm and cancel. And so you accidentally hit the cancel one when you meant to hit confirm. And then you just wind up having to do the whole airport process all over again.
Do you want to
Like the
hear what I said
classic-
again? No. Yeah.
Right. I was just
No,
about to say that,
Kippora.
like the keyboard.
Yep.
That's why I can't trust dialogue boxes, which
It's
is why I
in-
named the
it-
show Dialogue Box.
It's in the airport, and it's not even quite that it's swapped. It's because when first you say that you want to connect to somebody online versus local, and it goes through the whole connecting to the internet process, which takes a couple seconds. But as soon as it's done with that, I don't remember what order they're in, but you have to choose either like a Friends Island or a Dodo code or whatever it is. And it's way too easy to select the first option because you're usually mashing A to have the internet's loading. Yeah, I've messed that up so many times I can't even. I was going to somebody's island just 2 weeks ago, not even, and at least 5 times I went through the dialogue because I did that for one visit.
You do not know what I had to go through to be here today. Do you all continue to play New Horizons today, or did you drop off at any point? I would say raise your hand, but one of us can't, so. And you can, we won't see
I
it.
can. It's just, you know, you know how it be.
Are you old and frail?
Yes.
It's
I
old
told
and
you at the
still.
beginning. I told you at the beginning of this call that I'm decrepit. Okay.
You did. It's true. I heard it.
Yeah, you did.
I thought
Yo,
you were
whippersnappers.
kidding.
The voice says otherwise, so.
That's right. Alright, somebody get her some Metamucil, please. What was that? Are you trying to laugh, old man? You thought that was funny?
Yep.
Anyway, I dropped off. I totally dropped off. Somewhere, I think it was after the wedding season, because that seemed like the least fun thing that I could ever possibly do.
Oh, I hated that event. Yeah.
Yeah. it's
I
silly.
hardly played that one. I got the like 2 items that I wanted. It's like, all right, not doing
Well,
that
and-
again.
Heart, right? Crystal
There's
heart.
yeah, well, that's what you traded to get. I don't even remember.
Yeah. So they do the same thing as the other thing. Like, here's currency, and you earn enough currency to give to me, so then I can then give you the thing. I could have just given you the thing. Like, I didn't have to give you the currency, but here you can buy either, I think it was like either DIY or items, and it was just like a little shop thing that you would spend your currency on, and then you would, yeah. I didn't really enjoy that. I felt like it was just more chores to do. And I think the other thing is that something that can really turn me off of a game is this idea that I have to come back tomorrow and do it.
Or else.
Or
Yeah.
else.
Yeah.
But also, so my girlfriend's been playing the game since it came out. She's still, like, she time travels to go back certain days because she missed that day. Like, she couldn't play on Tuesday, so on Wednesday
Wow.
she'll go back
That's
and then
dedication.
catch up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that really is.
And that, I'm tired just saying that. So, but when we were doing the wedding event, she was just kind of like, "Oh, make sure you log in to do the wedding event." I'm like, I kind of don't want to. Like, now that you're telling me to do it, I really don't want to. Because it's, if the thing that you're trying to expand your game on isn't necessarily fun, then I don't really feel like I want to go back and experience it. And then, a month went by, and I was like, maybe I'll get back into it. And I hope that, like, people are still online and I'll go play with them. And that just kind of didn't happen, and it just kind of snowballed. And like I said at the beginning of the show as a joke, like, after a while, you don't want to come back because you know that your
Too
village
much
or your
pressure.
island is trashed and is filled with cockroaches. Cockroaches are
Weeds
the new
everywhere.
villager type.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
the weeds.
my
The
town's full of them.
cockroaches are funny though because when you step on them, they do die. So I'm gonna
They
say
get
you
the little
can kill
ghost.
something.
That's
you
right.
know what? You're right. You're
You
right.
just
have to
I
time
forgot
travel.
about that. I stand corrected.
To be fair, the cockroaches in this game are a lot easier to get rid of than they were in the past.
Oh, really?
You only squish them once and they're gone.
Mm-hmm. The little
Okay.
ghost is so cute.
Yeah, it
It's
is.
like the little Pikmin ghost.
Aw.
Oh, God. It is the Pikmin ghost.
Yeah.
It even makes the same cry.
What if the roaches are Pikmin?
Oh no. That's so
Even
sad.
better. I
I
guess this is a game if you don't like Pikmin.
I played probably mostly every day in 2020. I'm sure I missed days here and there, but I would say I played pretty consistently in most of 2020. Then after New Year's in January is kind of when I really fell off of it. I started playing less and less, going from maybe once or twice a week to every couple of weeks. And now I just check in from time to time. I definitely don't play as often as I did before because I feel like I've kind of gotten everything I wanted out of it after a year has gone by. I have all of the villagers that I want. I have, all of those upgrades that I want. I've decorated the way that I like it. My house looks nice. So when I do go on and play and the events are just kind of what I've already done, I am kind of finding like I need something new to do. So definitely I still check in, just not nearly as much as I did, for that first 2020.
See, I want that to be my answer. I want to be like, yeah, I did everything I wanted to do. My island looks nice. I check in every once in a while just to see how everything's going,
Mm-hmm.
But no, that'd be a lie. My island is trash. Everything's a mess. I'm overwhelmed every time I look at it. I log in and I'm like, holy God, I can't move anywhere because there's so much trash. And then I panic and then I shut the game down. So, yeah, I haven't been in a while because everything is awful and everything is trash on my poor little island. My animals are they are very disappointed in me and I can't face
Aw.
them.
You just like stare at your island, you're like, you disgust me, and then you just log off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still play probably about once a week, which I would consider a pretty big drop off. I think I had 2 drop offs. So there was the point where the game came out. I was probably playing a minimum of 6 hours a day for maybe 3 months. Then when it got to around the wedding season, it turned into like checking in almost daily, and usually not doing much, just kind of like poking my head in. I'm like, oh, my island's still here. Okay. And then probably closer to October, November, it turned into more of a 1 to 3 times a week playing a little bit and then playing more for the events, which is kind of where I'm at now. The Mario event had me in for a while, mostly because somewhat annoyingly, you could only order 5 items a day, and I wanted like 10 of each item. So the other thing is my personal, like, this is how I've played every Animal Crossing game, is I don't time travel until I feel like I've done everything, and then I can't do anything else without time traveling. So I basically got like a really long stretch of time without time traveling, and then I started time traveling and I got a pretty long stretch of time moving around back and forth. And so now that I feel emboldened to cheat and go wherever I want in the calendar year, it's less like urgent for me to feel like I need to log in on a particular day or whatever, because I know I can just kind of go backwards or forwards whenever I feel like it, which is why I try to wait to time travel in the first place.
I was the same way with the time traveling. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, at
After
first
you
it
had
felt
your
like
first
cheating.
taste.
Yeah, but then you're like, like I want to catch this fish in the winter. I can't have it now, so
Yeah.
too
You
bad.
play the game how you want.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
my year of Animal Crossing's been kind of a saga because I've moved twice and like went through a lot of things happening. And like Animal Crossing kind of came and went with those. So I fell off around the same time, like May, June. Then I moved and I got back into it in October. And because I wanted everything like Halloweened up, it was awesome. And then in December, I moved to El Paso, and I said, you know what? I think we're gonna scrape everything clean and we're gonna start a new file. So I did. And it's been awesome since. It's been really fun because I missed a lot last year. So this time, I got to see winter and the beginning of spring again. And when I feel like I've done enough with my personal account, like I make accounts for my dogs.
Oh.
So I do have Ridley in the game, and before I
Aw.
had Baxter, and he was my little chihuahua. And that way you get more chances to get different items. You have more storage, and then you can do those little things that you like to do, and it feels like it's exciting because you're starting the game again and you have goals to reach. And that's where my problem is. Like when I run out of goals, I'm just like, well, what now? I don't know. Like
Right.
pressure.
Yep.
So yeah, that's how I've been playing, and I play maybe a couple times a week now, maybe once, twice. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the other thing that I ought to mention. My girlfriend or DM, she also has 2 throwaways that she made just for the game because all of her clothes took up all of her storage, and so now she has additional storage through 2 throwaway accounts. Only game she uses them for.
I played on 2 Switches. I had my Switch Lite, and I set up I redid my whole setup with game sharing and whatnot so that I could play on both accounts and visit one island from the other.
Oh.
That's great.
And I did one Northern Hemisphere and one Southern Hemisphere, so I'd always have.
Hey, that's actually
Oh,
really good.
love it.
Yeah.
You have the whole world in your hands.
That's how I got, like, there was, like, when the game came out, so I have a full-time job and I was working from home starting last March. And so I could really kind of keep the game next to me all the time while I'm, like, answering email. Oh, look, like, I need to chat with this guy. Okay, answer the. So it was really nonstop Animal Crossing for months and months for me.
Yeah, having a 2 monitor setup from your work from home station is pretty helpful.
Yep.
Both for work and for ignoring work.
Side by side.
No bosses watch this.
This is the most people I've had on my. Anyway, so the next question is for those that have dropped off, what caused us to stop playing? And I think we kind of already discussed a little bit about that. But what has kept us from coming back?
Garbage.
Garbage.
Too
Got it.
much garbage.
Anxiety on my end. So that's a very quick question. I'm glad I wrote that question.
There's definitely like a psychological aspect though, right? Like, because if you can manage to get past the, like, my island's going to look bad when I go back. There's going to be weeds. I don't want to pluck them. I don't want to talk to anybody. If you get past that part, then it's not so bad. But it's hard to get past that part. And, like, I got to the point where I don't even talk to my villagers anymore, except for there's, like, 2 that I'm trying to get pictures from. So I mail them every day with gifts. But so I got to the point where I don't talk to anybody because I don't want to hear them tell me that they haven't seen me in 3 months, even though I've been logging in. They just don't know that because I don't talk to them.
It's been 72 days. You're weird. Why did you count those?
Yeah, right. They have a calendar in their
Yeah,
house.
no, they just have like scratches scrawled against their wall, and you're just kind of like, oh, that's very
So sad.
normal. Okay. Mhm.
Oh no.
My best buddy hasn't been here in 9,764
Oh
days.
no.
But who's counting?
But
I guess also
someone.
from day to day, if there's not an event going on or like something special that I want to see, new bugs or something at the beginning of the month, fish, whatever. It's just also kind of the monotony if you don't have an idea for like a new design or something that you're trying to work on that takes a little while. If not, it's just like, okay, good, I'm gathering items again. So
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
sorry. You know what probably would have made me keep playing a little bit longer? If Isabel actually said anything that was worthwhile and, let me know if there was someone wandering around my island that I would care
Yeah.
about.
Or tells you about the weather for the day. There's so
Yep.
many different things that she could mention.
Yeah.
I would prefer.
see.
I would prefer to tell you about what I watched last night.
Yeah, exactly. It drives me up the wall because, like, 90% of the time I think about running around my island and, looking for CJ, looking for Flick, looking for the Wisp ghost person. Don't remember the name. Is it just Wisp? It's just Wisp.
Yeah,
Anyways,
Wisp.
Wisp. I'm looking for Wisp, and I'm just like, I don't feel like making laps around my island looking for these NPCs. I just don't feel like doing that, so I'm not gonna bother. But if Isabel was upfront about it and was just like, hey, Wisp is somewhere on this island, then I'd be more inclined to be like, all right, I'll play for a bit, look for Wisp, do a chore, and then probably sign out after that. But it would have kept me playing because I would know what to expect.
Yeah.
Mm.
Or could you imagine if she said, even if you logged in at 9 a.m., she said, oh, I heard Celeste is coming tonight.
Yeah,
Great.
exactly.
Like, now I know to
exactly.
turn it back
Come
on.
back, yeah.
Yeah. Would be
There
great.
might be shooting stars on your island. Tell all of
I
your
literally
friends.
never got that dialogue, not once.
Oh, really?
Oh, no.
And I don't know how.
I think they made it rarer.
Well, it's strange because my boyfriend was also playing daily for a time, and he got it like 5 times in
Wow.
that first couple months. And I had 2 games going, and neither of them
Oh my
daily
gosh.
for
Oh,
months.
that's rough.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't
bizarre.
know, the game really did not want to give me, and I had shooting stars. I just never had like, oh, there's gonna be a meteor shower.
It would tell you, yeah.
She's gonna be playing for 8 hours anyway. She'll know.
She'll figure it out.
I think a couple of times I've had a villager being like, clear skies today, and I'm kind of like, oh, and then nothing happens. So I've had the opposite problem where people are just kind of like, expect shooting stars. I don't know. And then I'll come back at like, 9 o'clock and nothing.
Yeah.
Mm.
And I've also had shooting stars that last for like 20 minutes. And then I've also had shooting stars that last for like 3 hours. So it's really weird
Strange.
how random that game can be.
Mhm.
I think for me, I think one thing that honestly could bring me back in is just like changing up the events, really. Something that I just thought about as we were talking just now is the fact that like in the original Animal Crossing games, your event was one day. And so you either show up on December 20 something and celebrate Christmas, or you don't. Yeah. Or you either come during a certain day or a certain time frame in order to celebrate something, or you just miss it, or you time travel. And I think them elongating it out by a month was meant for more casual players to be able to experience it on their own time. But I think because of the pandemic and because everyone was just like, I have nothing better to do, they kind of guzzled in all that content and they played every single day for the entirety of the event, and the return of the investment wasn't that high. And so I think changing up the way that the events work or making them seem more specific, like there is a part of me that I don't necessarily have the time to show up for every single event or for every single specific day. Whether I time travel or not is a different issue. But making it something that I could miss makes it seem more special when I can make it.
Yeah.
And so the fact that it kind of goes on for this long period of time and then the one day is just kind of like the finish line rather than the actual event would probably make it a little bit more special, or just doing something up a little bit different for each particular event that makes it more, I keep using the word, but just make it more special or unique. Something that I can remember for that particular instance, and maybe it changes next year and we do something a little bit different. And I guess this kind of, segues into the last question, but now the game's been out for a year. We've talked a lot about the year itself, what we've experienced through the game and outside of the game, and how that kind of all culminates into the first year of Animal Crossing. In its sophomore year, what is something that you would like to see? And we've kind of talked again about things that we would want. But what would really excite you, especially if you've dropped off the game? What would bring you back into the game? Like, what would be the one thing that you would want to see again? Maybe Masae would be like a really large trash can.
Yes, perfect.
So far this second year, it doesn't feel like they're changing up all of the first year events all that much. I think they said, okay, well, for May Day, there's going to be a slightly different maze than there was the first year, which to me, I'm not really rushing to hop on my game to do that. Like Sam said earlier, I would love if they had a 2.0 update that's in the works. If they could say, okay, like here's what it's going to be for the second year. We're really adding, brand new holidays. We're really changing things up for later in the year. I know this might get some pushback, but I really wouldn't mind paid DLC. I would buy an expansion pass, to give myself a bigger island, to give myself, more themed items, things like that. I just want more of what we had what we have already. Give me more of that. Give me some new stuff that's going to encourage me to keep logging on. Give me those old special characters like we were talking about. I want to see Cap'n again. I want to see Brewster. I want to see Tortimer. These people that I think should have been in it to begin with. I would pay for it, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I would totally pay for that too. I think it would depend on how much they cram into it. Like it would have to be a substantial amount slash. I think especially for people to not get pissed about it, it would have to be something new too, not
new
just
that
like,
wasn't in New Leaf.
Yeah, because if they just rolled out paid DLC and it's literally just like, hey, you missed Brewster, here's Brewster, and then that's it, or something along those lines, it would be like, well, I mean,
because a lot of what the
Nintendo.
updates have been so far have been things that were in New Leaf, like the swimming. Was it really new when it was something that we've had before? So you're right. I agree with you.
Yeah, but I do agree though that like the new characters and more of like what we have would be great. And again, I probably also would be pissed about it if it was just like things from New Leaf. But can I say that I would be like, I'm not buying that? No,
I would buy it.
100%.
I'd kick and scream, but I'll kick and scream with my credit card out.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for me, like a whole like package, I think would have to be presented, and that would have to include probably new shops, new events and holiday like reworks, and maybe more extraneous islands. Kind of like Harv's Island, but other things, or like the May Day, like going to the maze. That's pretty cool. Like make that more often, or just add more in general, where you can just go to the airport and be like, hey, I want to go to somewhere specific, not just a mystery island.
I think that's a good point too, because like regardless of the mystery islands, the idea that like we've spent so much time at home in the real world and we used Animal Crossing as an escape, but we are constantly usually on our own islands, and so after a while you kind of realize that you're still stuck in like one place. So I think having the idea of like being able to, and it was said earlier, just like have an island of the stores or the places that the people that normally come to your island maybe once a week can be there, because I think that was also really frustrating for me, was that you would either have to just be really lucky that Kix or Red would show up, especially if you're a completionist and you want, now I have to finish the art gallery on my museum. I had to be lucky not only that Kix was here, or that Red was here, but that the things that he was giving me were unique and real. So you might actually have him show up and everything is fake, and you're just kind of like, all right, this is the best you could give me this week. All right, I'll see you Tuesday. And then for the next 5 days in a row, you get Gulliver. So I think that would be one for me specifically, is like there's a part of me that wants to, the goal in my opinion of Animal Crossing is like getting the things, and after that you just kind of deck your place out with the things. And so being able to have that island for me to do it on my own time without having to just roll the dice and see what happens would be really good for me. And just being able to see all these other characters that that only show up, like I think Leaf was a big thing for me. It was like I really wanted Bushes, and I didn't realize the first time that he showed up that this is it. Like I'm not gonna see you for who knows how long, and so you can only buy so much at that time anyway, and then I just have to roll the dice and see when you come back. Being able to do that at my own command would be great. And honestly, if I have to pay for that update, I would pay for that update. But yeah, I think being able to have more control and have more unique events that would make them feel more memorable to me would be great, and not in the negative way. Like I will remember Easter for the rest of my life.
Yup.
In my flashbacks.
I think ditto to what everybody has said. I really want that like 2.0 update, free or paid. I can't even say I care, because I will throw money at whatever. But the big thing for me is if it's paid, well, really either way, what I want is something that adds more goals, because if there's not like something that I need to do and it turns into like, yeah, we've added this Brewster thing, but you still have to log in every day for this like 30-second interaction, where you like deliver a coffee to one person, whatever it is. Like, I think I need a new goal, something to work towards, not just a new interaction available. And
What if I had a job?
I mean, that would be something, I guess. I would like to have like a really big update where they give us a lot more furniture sets and a lot more like just things to earn, more DIY. And I would also really like all of the NPCs that we talked about to come back. I'd like to have some kind of a secondary island. One of the things that I wanted from the get-go, which we never got, was something like the main street in New Leaf, where you just go somewhere separate from your home. Like, you have all this stuff to decorate, but then there's a separate area where there's Dr. Shrunk and there's Harriet to do your hair. Like, maybe you have a main street, but it's actually just another island that's like a shopping mall island or something
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that. There's a lot that they could do. I don't know if they're working on any of it. I do know that they said that they were made plans to do free updates for the first 2 years, and we're only 1 year down. So I have a feeling that there's something else big coming that they're holding on to, but I don't know.
Right, so like
Sip,
we're just gonna
serve,
keep.
drink.
But who knows? I have no idea.
Yeah, because theoretically, the second year of updates could just be things like we've made the maze a little bit different, or we've
Right.
added 3 more masks for Halloween.
And that would be a really big bummer. So I hope
Yeah.
that's not the case. But
I know.
You get to wear a Wario hat. You're welcome. We're gonna give you some Splatoon
I
hats
feel like
when
they're
3
going to give
comes
us
out.
Brewster. They haven't yet for some reason, but
People have been very vocal about him in particular.
I feel it in my
Yep.
bones. They still make the plushie for him and sell him.
He's still relevant to me. Hey, look, I bought a T-shirt of a dead character. Look at that. We're never gonna see him again.
Daddy,
He's
that's
not dead. He
funny.
just lives in a helicopter now.
He just lives in the helicopter.
Which is
You don't get
Probably
to see
not
him, but he's
great.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there were quite a few characters that they have specifically said, like, oh, they don't really serve a purpose anymore. And I'm like, that's the saddest thing I've ever heard.
Yeah.
But you can always find something else to do with Resetti. Like, come on. Yeah, I think we kind of, beat this one into the ground, right? Like, there's clear things that we really enjoy about Animal Crossing after its first year, and there are some clear frustrations or things that we wish could be better or done differently. And just hopefully we'll kind of see some more of these updates as year 2 goes along, and maybe into year 3. I think, again, like, some of those updates, like, I think another island or multiple islands that aren't, roguelike little islands that just change every time you revisit, would probably cost a little bit more, would probably take a little bit more effort. So I'm down to pay for that. My usual fear of DLC now is because after, like, Sony threatening to close a store down, I'm kind of like, when will my DLC become nothing?
Yeah.
And so that's my fear at that. But I think seeing all those potential things that we've talked about, I think an amalgamation of that would definitely... I'll get back into the game someday. Like, even without all this. Someday. When I'm ready.
You have hope.
There's always
is
the
very
option to
powerful.
start a new island.
Yeah, it's been fun for me. It definitely renewed my love for the game.
That's true.
I think, yeah. And personally speaking, like, I've been able to deck my island out the way I wanted it to at that point. It's mostly just, do I want to face my old friends? I think one of them actually may have moved to another island because somebody told me that one of my old animal buddies is now on their island, and they said they came from my island. So I'm like, guess you couldn't wait, huh?
Well,
Couldn't wait to say goodbye.
How cool would it be if you could have like a new game plus type thing in the game where you could start a new island, but you still remember all of your recipes that you've learned, all of your DIYs?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't really have to
That'd be
start from
super
scratch
easy.
with like learning those again, but you kind of start the island over again and you kind of just remember everything that you knew before.
Yeah, just wipe
I'd
the
be
world.
very
Everyone
into
forgets
that.
except you.
Because I think
Like,
that's the part that intimidates me for starting a new island is like, oh my god, like if I want to build a table, I don't know how anymore.
Yeah.
Now I have to get another cardboard box recipe.
Yeah.
The other thing that would be nice to get, which I think was in the last big update for New Leaf with the campers, I think that was when they added Leaf being able to clean up your weeds on the island.
Oh.
Or something like that, where you could hire Leaf, I think. For some reason, Wisp is also in my head, but Wisp wouldn't do anything like that. Anyway, it would be great if there was an option for you to come back and be like, forget that I ever disappeared for 6 months, especially if they're going to do a big update.
Like a
just-
vacation mode.
Yeah, like
Well,
take
yeah,
that
they
stress
had
away
the-
from people.
New Leaf had the mayor's orders, right? Like,
Right.
they want the town's AI to focus on certain things when you're not playing for a long time so that either fewer weeds show up or I think something else. Like, there was a whole list of things that you could set 1 to based off of how you want the villager AI to function while you're either playing or not playing the game. That would actually be really nice to have, and maybe like bring back the town projects so that your animal buddies actually contribute maybe once in a while, and it's not just me. I think there was a nice idea with the bridges and everything, but being able to do more kind of went out the window because you were constantly like building everything that you could put down. But if there was an additional function like that, that would be nice to do. Uh-oh, I think we'll be right back.
Ridley is up
Is
to
Ridley.
something.
Oh, no.
Getting into something.
Yeah. Is Ridley eating trash? That's what.
I have to go. There's people
Oh.
outside. He's gonna be barking constantly.
Oh, no
okay.
worries. I think we've covered everything that we can. So we'll end the episode here. But I'm really happy that y'all could be here. I'm really
Yeah,
glad
this was
that
a
we
lot
could
of
all
fun. Thank you very
talk about
much.
Animal
Yeah,
Crossing.
thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah. And, all y'all in chat, if you want to see more episodes, be sure to follow. This will be out in YouTube and as well as all podcast services that I can get my grubby little mitts on eventually. But until then, thank you for joining us here. Thank you for being here in chat. And until next time, this has been DialogBOX. Good night.
Bye-bye. I am also
Bye.
waving. Also waving, I promise.
You just can't see it because I cropped you out.